All right. So can you just allow me to just take it one step at a time and then
Yeah,
we move
yeah,
forward?
yeah,
Since
sure.
since your audience might be watching this over and over again, so they can get to experience value. So the way we start building a brand, or because you can actually do it personally. Usually it starts personally, and then you spread it all the way to family and the community, and it goes on and on and on. And now the concept is that for every solution, because when you're trying to create a solution, it means that there is a gap right now in the market. Because if you found out that there is a solution, definitely you're just moving to, buy it or purchase it or take a hold of it. So there is always a void that actually triggers that. So for some people, it's a lot, but it's always a problem. That's why sometimes when you come in, the critical thinking phase, or where you're actually being trained on, is for you to know that when challenges hit you, they're not just challenges as people define it to be. They are opportunities in disguise. So I believe that I'm suffering from heartbreak or I'm suffering from abuse. And all of a sudden, I'm like, how can I come out of this abuse? What's going on with me? And all of a sudden, as I continue to find answers, I'm like, okay, I help one person and I help two people. And before you know, I have a community of women who suffered the same abuse. They buy into my voice, they identify with my story. And all of a sudden, I'm Oprah Winfrey. All right. I'm Oprah, right? Yeah, that's what she does, right? All right. So I'm just like that. So, but then it started from, that there was a void, and I did something to solve for the void that I experienced. And in solving for that void, a lot of people also, I saw a lot of people who were also having that kind of problem. Okay, were having that kind of my problem, and I stepped in to solve that for them. And let me tell you something: for every problem you solve for yourself, there is minimum a billion people who would like to also experience that. Now, I didn't say billion people in your lifetime, but a billion people over, like, it can even exist beyond you, all right, that might also be looking into that solution in a way and in a sense. So they'll be coming back to, like, okay, who started this, and they just want to. Now, for example, let me say something. We've been bought into the technology age, like you were saying. Oh, Instagram is new, really? All right. The guy that invented where all this technology started, the computers that we're using right now, it started with the first person who invented the punch card in 1800s. All right, if I that was where the graphics, the AI, the artificial intelligence, that was where everything started. All right, where you're not having yeah, you're not having virtual reality, so, and you're having synthetic reality. All right. But aside from that guy was the first person who designed the first graphics card and stuff like that before what Charles Babbage even did. So I'm trying to tell you that there will be people who have to date back and dig back. But now the guy's dead since 1800s. All right. So what I'm trying to say is that when you tap into this thing and you understand what it is, there is a lot of, it can outlive you in a way and in a sense. So it's always coming from, trying to address the void. All right. It's always coming from trying to address the void, just like you. But you know that addressing the void is one part of the thing. The second thing that you should have at the back of your mind is that it's going to go beyond you, because a lot of people, based on the fact that there's a gap and there is no solution yet, there is no solution yet. That means a lot of people also, because there's no solution. And if you listen, a lot of people also will be interested in identifying with that solution that you just profiled for. So that's it.
Now, you said something about, like, it starts with the problem that you have. So it starts with you. Now, another thing, I wanted to go a little bit deeper with that. Like, a problem you're trying to solve, for example, if you are in the skincare business, it may not necessarily be the product itself, but how people feel about using skincare products or beauty products. Now you said something about thinking about the long-lasting effect it's gonna have, and it starts with you. But how do you move now when you thinking about the future, like, and you started the problem you try to solve it, you identified it first within you, like you said. How do you move from yourself to the public?
Okay. Oh, okay. But do you understand? Do you understand where I was coming from? I'm gonna answer.
No,
I'm gonna answer your question definitely.
yes, I understand perfectly where you are coming from, and thank you for giving me that example with the person who started the first punch card in the 1800 and already dead, and here we are 2021. We are using the same method, and we have
Principles. Yeah.
perfected, or we're trying to perfect it, that method. But I wanted to get a little bit deeper than that. While we are trying to solve a problem, solving a solution that's gonna outlive us, how do we go now from starting from it started with us to them, to the public, to something that is sustainable and that's gonna sustain itself? That's that's my question that I have.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
hi,
you,
I'm sorry, hi Legacy, thank you for being here.
yes. So I would say a few things. All right, and well, one part moving forward. The fact that you were answering the question, all right, while asking the question. You
Okay,
not
leave
listen.
it to me
Yeah,
to confuse
yeah.
myself.
Yeah, definitely. You were literally answering the question. So when you identify the problem, all right, and you say, okay, this is my core, that I want to be free from this. All right, that's where you start. For example, the founding fathers of the United States of America decided, like, man, I'm tired. I'm tired of being controlled, being a kind of a dictatorship. All right. I'm tired of being in kind of dictatorship, kind of a system and governance. I mean, I better go find my own space.
Mm-hmm.
Did they move by themselves? Of course, they found a place, and other people who were tired
Also
of
come
dictatorship
forward. Yeah.
came forward and they created independence and they created
Mm-hmm.
democracy on
Mm-hmm.
July 4th, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So you see that by the time you start, all right, you see that that's a gap because it doesn't exist before. When you see the problem you see is the problem you solve. That's how people start businesses. Airbnb. All right, I went for a holiday boot camp and I'm not having. I can afford a luxury 4-star Sheraton, whatever you call it. I'm just looking for a roof over my head. So they started bread and breakfast. All right, and that's how it started. And right now they are of course, hospitality, the whole industry is controlled by them. Now you see, it's still working, right? Yeah,
Yes.
we're moving forward, and you will see that you, as a person, when you say you can compete against Google, I think that's a lie. I'm
Right.
coming first. So, so,
Right.
so, so but to answer your question straightforward to what it is, the way you transition from understanding the power of your why and purpose and mission and the impact you want to have in the world, the next thing you introduce is to ask who is going to need this. All right. Who, one person, you start from who, that is one person. And when you define that, all right, you will see that it will expand to community of people. Two people are going to need that. Three people before you know that's how it is. So just by understanding that, all right, just that introducing that single one person, like who's going to need this? Who's going to be of, who's this solution going to be in better service to? All right. Just identifying that unlocks the four walls of business value. All right, just value transactions. Now, the where it comes into business, like I said, is the legal structure that comes with it. All right, so I'm saying on this legal binding, all right, that the government is going to back me up because I can collect, I can and get I can do a project for $10 billion. Yeah, all right, nobody's going to trust me with $10 billion. So the government of
Mm-hmm.
President Donald Trump or um, Joe Biden is going to endorse in that and say, okay, we're giving you that credibility that you can trade at that level, right? So that's where business starts, but it really starts from really getting clear and understanding who is going to best need this beyond you. So sometimes when you're looking at yourself, maybe you'll, but when you want to define some other person, I think there is a much more clarity that has to be with that, because right now you're moving into targeting a much more wider scope than you. So you need to really understand them and get to understand them more, and what would influence them coming over to experience what it is that you have to offer.
Oh, okay. Yes, definitely. Now I understand why you said I answered my own question. I now you said something about now. Oh, by the way, for those people who are just coming in, thank you for being here. Today's topic, I had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Abraham Steve, and he is a business marketing campaign specialist. And today's topic is a brand admiration. Basically, is building a business that actually cares for the people, building a business that actually gonna outlive you and gonna have an impact. And like I was saying, if you just started, and Steve is trying to, Brian's trying to clarify that for me. And I was saying, yeah, the mission for me with Beautelanin as a skincare brand is about revolutionizing the relationship that my target customers are, which are women of color, the Black community, they have with the beauty industry. And oftentimes there's a lack of trust. There's a lack of not being seen or not being heard enough. And we're talking about how we can identify a problem, and that problem is not just for us, but whatever we're going through, whatever challenge we go through, you can guarantee it. There are so many other people going through the same thing, not necessarily at the same time, but they all go through a similar problem and looking for the same solution as well. And once you identify that problem, then people who have been looking for that solution also gonna be attracted by your solution. And as a result, that's how your business or your brand or your mission can outlive you. And so another thing I wanted to ask you with respect to building a business that actually cares, and you kind of went a little bit about it, but when you're talking about getting people coming to you say, oh, you know what, you found a solution, and that solution, I can relate to that solution. And you said something about, if you wanted to charge someone $1 billion, nobody gonna give you that $1 billion because they don't know you, they don't trust you. So how do you establish that trust, especially when you are a small fish amongst a lot of shark and so on? So how do you establish that as a brand, as a someone or a business that is actually bringing a solution to a group of people that may also have other, they may have other, other people who are, or other business who are giving them the same solution. So how do you build that trust with those people? How do you establish that that trust as a brand?
Okay, so I'm going to explain, what I listen to a lot of people. I don't know if you know Ryan Dice, but I have to mention his name and this kind of people. The way business is really relatable. All right, this is relatable, and the way you relate to business, I like the fact that when you're talking about business, you emphasize relationships. You're always like, all right, we'll try about relationships. Well, you go into the banking industry, we're trying to, they're emphasizing relationships. So why is everybody having this phrase called relationships? Okay, what's it about relationship? How can I establish it? Oh, okay, how quick? What's a timeline? And stuff like that. So an easy relationship that I would like to work with, all right, because it looks quite easy in terms of a lot of people referencing it. It's the opposite sex, all right. So someone is trying to woo you as a woman, and the first thing the person is like, okay, we need to, we need to go and maybe get married, and you're like, I don't really know you. So what would allow me, and the getting married is like the main ask that you're looking for. That's the
Mm-hmm.
end stuff. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then if someone had was to just meet you right now and then say, would you marry me? What would you say? No,
No. I
no,
don't know you. So you
it's
have to
not
court me
possible.
first.
Yeah, of course. So that courting means I gotta observe you. I gotta observe consistency in character. I gotta ask some of my lady friend and maybe for a guy, what do you think? All right. So that's how it is. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of validation, either directly or indirectly, and so those are the pillars that you have to focus on and address, which will allow you to ultimately attain that trust. So the key word is, you have to uh, put it clear what you stand for, and then be consistent about what you say you stand for. So that is it. So by the time you identify that this is who you are, all right, who you are is who you track. So that's also the personality of the brand. Who the brand is, or what the brand is, whatever it is, that those are the kind of people that our brand will definitely attract. So if you're saying that you're maybe a therapy school, because I can see it work also as a therapy school, but if you're saying you're a therapy school for people who suffered abuse, then you will attract people who need therapy who suffered from abuse. So who you are is who you attract. You just have to be consistent with it.
Okay. So, and I see Legacy is laughing because I said the word courting. Exactly. And I think that's essentially that's how you build a relationship. Like, if you first ask someone, like you said, you ask someone out. Sometimes I may not even want to go out with you. Go on a date. I'm like, I'm scared. What if that person is not who they say they are? And so, and especially when it comes to online dating, and like when you talk about like business, that's really is similar to online dating, right? You just
Mm.
starting, you've been introduced to some a business over, on social media, over the internet. You don't know who's behind it, and you're trying to understand that person. You're trying to understand what are their stand, their position on whether it is a social, position. So it's map. I understand the coding part, but how do you actually in you said something and I really like you said there's no time frame, because when you are establishing a trust with your customers or potential customers, it takes a long time. And sometimes you may think like, you want an easy relationship, but I always say whenever something is too easy, you should question it, because at the end of the day, when you like you move from the dating part or the courting part into the marriage part, that's when you realize, oh my gosh, we're not compatible. And it's similarly is because it was so easy, there was no adversity, there was nothing for you to challenge you or challenge us. So that's how I see when I'm thinking about business. That's how I see when you're courting your customers or potential customers and building that relationship, not just building their patronage, but also building the fact that, you know what, I really care about you. But it's really hard for you to do. And that's where I want to get to that point, because social media has changed the game. It's no longer face to face. Yes, networking is always gonna be there. That's the most. It's very important to network in person. I always say that when you meet some when you do a like one on one or networking event, when you see someone behind the telephone or the computer, it's easy because you get to know that person. You get to put a face to whatever the voice, whatever it is. But how do you do that? How do you quad over the internet when it's for me it's the challenge? How do you overcome that challenge? Because oftentimes it's really not easy, especially when you have millions of users on one social media, and there's only enough hours in the day, and you cannot be there constantly, you cannot be there every day. So how do you establish that trust? How do you bring that courting you consistently court, do the courting, and do it in the right way, in a steady way, in a healthy way?
Okay. Your questions, you're really going deeper, and I appreciate that. Yes, of course, I do appreciate that. So the way you do that is to give value. All right, you
Mm-hmm.
give value in any little or small way. So maybe a little value would be that I will educate you. All right, I'll educate you. Like I come in and care, and I see that you're broken. Say in the sort of way you've been hurt before. I have to pay attention to that, and I have to pay attention that there are a lot of scammers out there, and those are the things that I have to be able to maybe be my a hero to you to say, okay, you have to also play these having the the relationship brain I talked about, all right, where you just okay, let me see if I can help. So you try as much as possible to just offer value consistently in little by little bit-sized piece way, and by that you'll be able to nurture them over time to seeing that they believe in you and the value that you say you're going to do. And it's in social or yeah, in social and the internet, how you do that is through content. Like what you're doing right now is exactly that. So they get to trust you, and they see the transparency. I'm like, well, really? That means, I mean, I don't know, but I have to identify with what she's doing. And that's how people start to build admiration for you as a person. And then they talk about you and you gain that viral steam.
Oh, I love your answer. No, I really do. I know I tend to go deeper than just thinking about it. And be philosophical. I don't know what, but so thank you so much for the answer. And that was a very powerful answer, and I truly appreciate that. Now, in terms of like as we continue this, we have a few minutes left in our lives. Now, when we're talking about uh, the relationship, it also encompasses the values, right? You're instilling the values you are establishing. What are your values? And a lot of time, I see, like, as a business, as an entrepreneur, you're gonna put, just like any type of dating, some you have gonna try and trial and error. Some gonna work, some may not work, right? And so, how do you when you're establishing that value, you already have, your brain have its own values, and some people may not relate to those values. And like you said, people going to, it's like, show me what you eat and I'll tell you who you are. Show me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are, in sort of a sense. And similarly, whenever you are building a brand, you want to build a brand with people, or you want to call people who actually have similar values, who are looking for that similar values as you. So how do you establish how do you put that out there? Like, how do you get to those people with the same ideology, the same values as you? I know it's the question. I think I know some of the answers, but I just wanted to understand from your standpoint, because that's what you do for a living. I just wanted to understand, how do you go about that? How do you get to weed out the people you want versus the people who just there, but not necessarily, because at the end of the day, your brand is all about your values. Your values have to stay consistent as well. You cannot change your values because you're trying to quote somebody else, right? So the person you have to quote, they have to have similar values as you. So how do you get that to that point?
All right. Well, I would say that it's hard work, but
Mm-hmm.
because of the end results and goals, um, someone would definitely that would be a driving factor. So, to be consistent, you have to be aware of the core, and you also have to know what's at stake. All right. You know that one day waking up and saying you're a totally different person would cost you a lot more than if you never started at all. All right. So I feel that the real thing here is you have what was going to help you to stay consistent is really, really getting back to the purpose in which you started. What did you want to achieve? What was the impact you want to have? What results did you want to see? What was the change you wanted to see? And brands like Netflix, brands like Apple, still referencing that they have these some sort of yeah, retreats, and people getting back to the core and still reminding themselves. So if you are building a corporation, you're building an organization, you just have to, apart from reminding them, you could have these core values being pasted on your walls. and you just get to remind these people of the mission. And the second thing that is very important is to try as much as possible to keep it simple. All right. The more simple it is, the better you can get people to align with the vision quicker moving forward. So that's always really the key. If it's too complex, I see people drawing a lot of vision board. I'm like, what's this? Like, definitely, I have to say this. That's really the challenge in business. Like what you're saying, I don't really understand. Now, I think during the era of the president, who was I'm about to remember, but it's not Reagan, that wanted to send man on the moon. And so the president asked a janitor, a cleaner who was there, and said, why are you cleaning? Why are you here? What are you doing? All right. And he said, Mr. President, I'm helping put a man on the moon. Now, this was a cleaner, all right, who said, I'm helping put a man on the moon. There was so much clarity and vision that everybody was just committed to seeing that end result, and that was just it. That was what allowed for the success. So what I'm saying is, how do you allow for that? The idea is that at the end of it, when you pay attention to the end goal and you pay attention to what got you started, the most important thing after the work got you started is to make sure that it's very, very simple, as much as base as it can be, and that's how you will be able to allow people to align properly on time, and then you keep moving without slowing down. So for me, I'll say something. All right. Now, referencing Apple, I like to reference them because it's people that I learned. It's a brand that I really learned the foundations to branding from. So where I'm coming from would be that Apple has a very, very simple ideology, which is think differently. And that's really what it is. So if you can simplify it into just 2 words, possible, I think you might be on the right path.
Wow. That is powerful. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. So we are at the end of our live, and we had Bram Steve, who is a brand strategist, well, business and marketing and campaign specialist. I really appreciate all the values you have to input. I've learned so much from you today. And again, I think one of the things I love we said today was courting, the relationship of and the power of courting, and it automatically reminded me of real world. And so thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. And thank you everyone for listening, for being here, for just always supporting me. And look at legacy, always, indeed. I love that. And Graham, I would love to, I hope we could have a part 2 on this, because there's so much I want to ask, and you know me, I'll go deeper than that. So I hope we can have a part 2 in our, with our conversation, because that is so much value. You have input so much value today. I cannot say thank you enough. I truly appreciate that. And that is something that's going to challenge me in the next couple of months, and really make me sit down to really define exactly your purpose, your why, and how you want to establish that relationship. And so thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And do you have anything else to say as for the final for everyone here before we end our live?
All right. I just want to say that normally it's not easy. I would tell you, but when you have it at the core, then everything, it's easy to ride upon that. So a brief background, a brief story. I went consulting for an organization, and it's a tragic situation, but I just have to tell you, because a lot of companies, that's what they experience. So I remember the CEO waking me up because I was literally in the like the office space working with them tirelessly overnight to make sure that we arrive at the goal that we set. So on getting there, I mean, someone was like, because I came in last, all right? So I saw a lot of things. Everything was moving fast. I told him, and I said, you're moving this in the wrong direction. You're not going to get the results you're looking for. So he said, how should we do it? So when I opted in to help him restructure some of the things, we were going to do, it was going to be at the risk of other people. So what happened was that they tried as much as possible to shift me out of that leadership role. And I was like, okay, no problem. We're still going to experience something in front. So 2 times I remember him waking me up at least 12 a.m. in the middle of the night and telling me, where's my money? He had invested so much money. He was asking me, where's my money? You understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying that I was like, in my mind, I'm like, how can I tell him that you can't be asking money now? The walls cannot be cracking. And I can't be telling you, oh, go fix the walls. It's a foundation problem. So I'm telling you, try as much as possible. Don't be on the speed lane. Try as much as possible to make sure that you get it. By the time you get it, it doesn't take time. You can spend the next 3 days. You can spend the next 14 days. Like organization I worked for, very good organization that I worked for. It took them up to 2 months, and that's because the CEO was traveling and coming to town and was shuttling a lot of other businesses around. But at the end of the 2 months, I could beat my chest and say, you can go to anywhere in the world and no one's going to stop you, because he was too afraid of competition. I'm like, competition? What? There's no competition here. It's only you, because you came to life with a purpose. Without that gap, there would have been no room for you. God would have said, oh, it's over, because everyone has achieved what I wanted. But for you to come means there's a room for you. So it's for you to find that and go in and feel it. So that's exactly what it is. So I would say, be patient with yourself. Don't think that it's going to happen overnight. No, it doesn't happen overnight. So if you're patient and then you stick around environments that allow clarity to be given to you, then it's easy for you to get into those levels where you understand what it is, what the core mission is, and then you get to also experience it, how you can make that a reality, not just for you, but for people who are going to be impacted by that.
Oh my goodness. Oh, you just appreciate it. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for everyone. Designer walls, interiors, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nidida. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. And again, like I said, I hope we can have a part 2 in our conversation. It's so deep, and we I think we can go even deeper than that. And I truly appreciate that. Hopefully, within the next couple of weeks or months, we'll be able to have a second part. So again, I'm not gonna be more than an hour. So thank you. I just wanted to say I appreciate everyone always here supporting me. And Ibrahim, Steve, he is here. If you're not following him, please follow him, give him a follow. He is really he's someone to know. And so thank you. Have a wonderful night. Okay, and thank you for taking the time on your Sunday night. I don't know what time it is now. Thank you where you are to be part of this conversation.
All right, no problem.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye everyone.
Bye.